What's up, squad? Welcome to episode 18, and today we're going to take a look at the top 3 meal replacement bars that are well balanced, proven to be healthy for you. Today in the health industry, there's a lot of flooded products that claim to be healthy when really they aren't. And for you guys, I want to bring as much value, and starting off, I want to give you guys the top 3 bars of 2020 that you should be eating. And so meal replacement bars are great for replacing parts and components of a meal, but they shouldn't replace your meal on a regular basis. Like, you shouldn't just be eating these for lunch. This is in the case that you're stuck in a meeting and you can't get out and get the food that you need. And so these meal replacement bars are great alternatives to skipping out on a sugary snack like Twizzlers or candy or bag of chips. These meal replacement bars are pretty well proportioned of fats, carbohydrates, and protein, of course. And so you're getting the essential macronutrients without the crash and without the unhealthiness of these sugary products that are advertised as healthy, or alternatives that are, from a vending machine. But if you need something on the go, you're busy at work, you're running around with the kids, they have practice, or simply you just can't get a meal in when you normally do, for whatever circumstance, these meal replacement bars are your next best option. So for the 3 components we're looking at for these bars is the taste, of course. Then we're going to look at the nutritional value, and then finally we're going to look at the texture and the whole display of the bar itself. And so we're going to take a look at the 1 bar, and so breaking down the macronutrients, it has 20 grams of protein, 22 grams of carbs, and 7 grams of fat. So it's a pretty decent ratio of protein, carbohydrates, and fats that you're looking for, and it's rated as the top bar. It's gluten-free, so it's a pretty good ratio. Not my ideal ratio, but for what it is for a protein bar, it's pretty solid. Now, the texture, it isn't super grainy. It's very cake-like. It's dense. It has this outer coating that looks a little bit like icing, but clearly it isn't. Texture, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. It does stick a little bit in the back of the throat, but overall, pretty easy to eat. And then flavor, of course, it tastes like birthday cake, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. From a nutritional standpoint, I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. And this is simply because it doesn't meet my nutritional requirements. I require a little bit more fat. This one has 7 grams, but it has 22 grams of carbs and 20 grams of protein, which is solid for most people. I wish it had a little bit more carbs in it, but that's okay. But overall, considering it's gluten-free and it is just a simple protein bar for the size, not too bad. All right, so next we have the Perfect Bar. And so this guy is 15 grams of protein, 22 grams of carbs, and 20 grams of fat. So for me, I go more on a even split in calories of fats and carbs. And then of course I get a solid amount of protein. So I eat less protein than I do carbs and fats, but my carb and fat ratio is about 1-to-1. Okay, so for me, the Perfect Bar is my perfect bar. But just going into the details of it, so flavor, in my personal opinion, 5 out of 5. I think it's the best tasting protein bar I've ever had. And I've had a lot over the years, since I was 16 till now I'm 22, so the past 6 years, hands down the best tasting bar. Texture-wise, 5 out of 5. So what holds this bar together is the peanut butter and the honey especially. So very creamy, delicious texture, easy to go down. You don't need to drink water with it, although I do recommend you do. And they have a nice variety of flavors. And then so finally, the nutritional value, I'm gonna rank this, in my opinion, it's 5 out of 5 because I need it and it's what I demand. But for people who don't like a high fat diet, the 20 grams of fat to 15 grams of protein and the 24 grams of carbs, it's a good 1-to-1 ratio. And in my opinion, these bars keep you fuller longer. And then finally, you have the RX bar, and this is the chocolate flavor. The RX bar is paleo, it's gluten-free, less than 10 ingredients per bar. And so this one's very well balanced too. So in this case, you're looking at 12 grams of protein, 23 grams of carbs, and 7 grams of fat. And so for the RX bar, it's a pretty good split, nutritionally speaking. I'm gonna rank it a 4 out of 5. You're still getting those 12 grams of protein, 23 grams of carbs, 9 grams of fat. So the protein to carb ratio is pretty solid. It's a 2-to-1. Again, I would like to see a little bit more protein. I like a little bit more fats in my diet. So again, being a little bit biased about it. But overall, very solid bar, good proportions. You're not getting an overwhelming amount of carbs that you would find in, say, some other bars. So ranking it on a texture, I'm gonna have to give it a 3.5 out of 5 because sometimes these bars can be a little sticky on your teeth and it's a little harder to get down. I find that my front teeth, when I bite into it, it latches onto this bar and it takes a little bit to get through it, but it still tastes great. Give it from a flavor perspective a 4 out of 5. It's not the most flavorful bar, but it's pretty darn tasty still, and they have an array of flavors. My personal is the cherry almond flavor and the blueberry flavor. So those are two fruity, nutty flavors that are awesome. The perfect bar is the perfect bar for me. If you have a higher fat diet, where you're trying to run off a little bit less carbs and you're trying to even out the fat to protein to carbohydrate ratio a little more, the perfect bar is definitely your go-to. For me, number 2 is the RX bar. From a flavor perspective and just like a fullness, I think that this bar works optimally for post-workouts, on the go, something to hold you over until your next meal. It's a very nice in-between spacer between, say, lunch and dinner or breakfast and lunch itself. So I definitely have these in my backpack all the time. So the one bar is a great bar still. It's not my go-to. I just wish it was a little bit more fat personally. So that's why this one bar is gonna be ranked 3rd on my list for 2020. So one stipulation though about this perfect bar is you have to keep in mind that it needs to be refrigerated. You can keep it unrefrigerated for 1 whole week, but because it's made with a lot of natural ingredients that perish pretty quickly, that is one thing to keep in mind, is it must be stored in the refrigerator, and then when you're ready to use it, you take it out, and it's fine for an entire week unrefrigerated. So that's something to keep in mind for the perfect bar. But if you're eating them, every other day, every day, you're gonna go through them pretty quickly, so there's not too much to worry about. So thank you guys for listening in. That is my review of the top 3 meal replacement bars for 2020. Leave a like, leave a comment below on what you wanna see next. Give me your thoughts. If you've tried these bars before, please let me know what you think about them. If there's any new bars you wanna bring to my attention, any new meal replacement bars, please let me know in the comments too. And additionally, I wanna say thank you guys for supporting this channel. This was really fun to talk about my 3 favorite protein bars and sharing them with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy them, and I'll catch you next time. How do I put my hands? I don't know where to put my hands. From down here, I put them up here.